I might as well add my pet peeve, and that is you'll see there is nothing here that you can call waste. There is no waste in this system. Nothing is wasted. There's no kitchen waste or yard waste or human waste or any kind of waste going into this process. It's organic materials, toilet materials, kitchen scraps. None of it is wasted. None of it is called waste or referred to waste. If you refer to materials that you're recycling as waste, you don't understand recycling. Recycling eliminates waste. You don't call recycled or composted materials waste. It's not waste. Waste is what's discarded with no further use and put in a landfill, not a compost pile. So it would be great if that terminology could be advanced a little in the composting community. Anyway, that's my pet peeve. I hope everybody understands. I doubt it, but I'll keep repeating it until it sinks in.
Poop, poop, poop in a bucket, yeah, and we'll save them.
All right, welcome everyone to the Eve Growing Concepts. I'm going to show you how we're going to handle our compost. You know, here at Eve Growing, we say there are no no-nos. If you looked in here, there's hot dogs, there's chicken, there's all kinds of everything that's organic goes into our little bucket in the sink, and then it goes into this bucket. When this is full, we put it out here. Okay, and I'm using the same, and I'll put links below. I'm using the same system that Joseph Jenkins is using. He uses pallets. I'm using two. This one is about up to here, and it's rocking at about 140 to 150 degrees at any given time. And when it's totally full up to here, I'm gonna really try to get that heat up to 160 and try to keep it as hot as I can for as long as I can while I'm working on this one. And by the time this one's full, this one will be all finished. Now these are machines, composting machines. I want to talk a little bit about these composters machines that they're selling now. I forget the name, I'll put the link as I'm talking. These composting machines that you have to plug in, folks. Come on, this is free. These dog crates cost me nothing. You can use pallets, you can use fencing. There's so many ways you can do it so it doesn't have to cost you anything. Don't tie yourself into some kind of a silly gadget that people are selling to make a buck. I think inevitably most of them are going to become like some workout machine that never quite lives up to expectation. So I got tools over here that I use to help keep my hot composting with these poking. I'll show you a little bit about that as I go. So let's just dump a little bit of this organic waste into here and see what it looks like. Again, we were rocking very high temps there. And so that hot temperature softens up everything and makes it ready for those angels of the soil called the red wiggler to get in there. It's too hot for them right now, but once the thermophilic stage is completely done, that's when we'll add our red wigglers. And at that stage of the game, when we're adding the red wigglers, that's when this compost won't be quite finished, but that's when I'll be able to grow food with it. So I'll be able to use my compost that much faster, 6 months faster. So I cover it with this to keep my carbon to nitrogen ratio. And again, what I love about these is they're not very big. They're so much easier to manage the heat when they're about that size. Again, pallets are a little bigger, right? They're probably 4 by 4, 3 feet high. This is about 3 feet high. I would say 2.5 by 2.5 around. So let's go over here like this. And I'll put you guys right here. And let's take a look here. See what it looks like. Okay. I keep this on there to keep the moisture in. Watch when I take this off, the steam that comes out of here. Low to no smell at all, folks, in here. It's smelly and gross down in here. Ooh, that's hot. That is hot. Let's see if I can see some steam. That is so, right here is burning hot. So amazing. Okay, smart. Good. So here's what I do. I used to chop my stuff up fine before I put it in here, but these days I'm just taking this whole bucket. Oh, goodness gracious. That's about 50 pounds. So I'm dumping it right on there. Look at that. Alright? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get my chopping tool, which is in the shed. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. So here is my chopping tool that I picked up on Facebook for 10 bucks. Love it. A little easier from now because you don't want that juice that's in there to splash up in your face. That'll all get soaked in there. Every jar that we open up, we rinse it out and put it in there too, because that is biodiversity that's still in those, in that liquid. So you want that to, you don't want to lose that. So that's just an example of all this sacred, nothing wasted. So I just chop this up best I can. Why, Mark, do you do that? Well, as we know, those of us who do this know that the more surface area exposed on our organic matter, the faster it all breaks down. And this, folks, again, like I've said many times, this is all the biodiversity lost in our outdated commercial growing practices. The way I grow with Eve growing, I think of a forest and how the leaves drop and it becomes the few years following soil. Similar to this. Okay. Chop that nice. Boom, boom, boom. Then now that I know a lot of the liquid has gone into here, I chop it even harder. Okay. And with this particular experiment, or this pile, all our cardboard and paper waste I mince with a micro shredder. And if you're getting into composting in urban settings, may I suggest get yourself a micro shredder. I have three of them. One is 18 sheets. You put 18 sheets, one is 20, and this one is 16. Well worth it. I put the thickest. I work them like work mules. And you're getting a workout too. Granted, you can't plug it in and stuff like that. But let me tell you something. Thousands of pounds is in here. This is probably almost 2 months old. This one here. Stopping it from going to the landfill. What else am I doing? So, less carbon creating trucks. Carbon emitting trucks, right? That need to come to my house. And if we all did it, think about that for a minute. All right, chop it up best I can, right? Then, what I do, since it's kind of creating an anaerobic situation, right? With it all packed down like that. But, here's what I do next. What I do is I get my other thing here, and I make holes. Similar to the Johnson soup bioreactors. You know how they put those tubes in? I make a big one here in the middle. Right? And then I get my little one here. And I make a bunch of little air holes. And you know, it's good when it stays an air hole. It doesn't cave in on itself. Put a bunch of holes in there. Less than a foot apart. And again, only when it's topped up to here, when I'm finally done doing this, is when I'm really gonna try to get some heat. But whatever I'm doing right to keep it consistently over 140 degrees Fahrenheit, even when I'm not even completed with the pile, is amazing. And of course, that's because I got that carbon to nitrogen ratio going. No measurements really. Now, this no doubt will stink, right? Because most of it was all nitrogen that I've added. Wet napkins that were soaking, that becomes a nitrogen for all intents and purposes, right? And I do notice, I wonder where my gloves went. I had them here. I do notice that I saw one fly flying. He'll start to recognize it, he'll smell it. Then put a bunch of little holes, right? And now, and that heat radiates 140 around here. So we're baking all this stuff. We're eliminating many pathogens by just the hot composting aspect of it. And then vermiculture, folks, is proven that they greatly reduce pathogens. So it's a win-win. And this is once a week, sometimes twice a week. I come and add stuff to it. It's not that big of a deal. And I should be getting paid for it. We who do this, we who compost our organic matter, stopping this heavy weight from going to the landfill, we should be getting paid for this. And we get paid for it by all that wasted money we're spending these big corporate entities to move our organic waste around. All these freaking people who just are making big bucks and don't know what the hell to do with it. So they put it in a big landfill. Most of the time they're double bagged. So I put about 1 million holes in there. Most of the time they're double bagged. I'm kind of overkilling it now with it, but I'm gonna put a couple next to the big one too. All right, now what I'm gonna do, I'll be right back, I'll show you, is I add about 6 gallons of carbon in the form of that micro shredded paper and cardboard I'm talking about. This will greatly reduce the smell. The air will get through in here. This will greatly reduce the smell. And that'll be the carbon. That'll get mixed in the next time I pour some stuff in there. And then what I do to more, I put this on here. Air will still get in here. And the proof of that air getting in there is the very high temperatures that I'm getting. Again, I love this. I call it pinpoint composting because I always thought you needed a lot of girth to get that heat. But now I realize you don't. Of course, I always have to learn the hard way, but many people have already been saying it's that carbon to nitrogen ratio. And if I have my cover, because I don't want rain getting in it and mess with my carbon nitrogen ratio. Then I cover it like that, and then I grab my tire tube, rubber band. Many uses for these rubber bands here. And I tighten it like that, nice and tight. So that's that. And then what I do is I add my thermometer in there like this. And let's take a look. It was rocking at about 150, 145 to 150. So let's see here with this. I messed around with the pile. I put all kinds of food in there. And as you could tell, it was rocking so hot and so good that my temperature's back. Yeah. And I added enough aeration where no doubt, this is going right into the middle of the pile. Look at that. I'm already in the red. Tomorrow morning, this will probably be up to, hopefully, 50 to 160. I'm getting it down. Again, I like to keep it at 160 Fahrenheit. Granted, I know many people say, Mark, if you keep it that hot, you're going to kill all the biodiversity that's in there. And that stuff we need to grow healthy food. But guess what? I contend after the thermophilic stage is done and the red wigglers are added, that biodiversity will certainly come back and we'll be growing food with all of this organic waste. And as I've said, if you follow me at Eve Growing with soil can do everything these soilless growers are doing and more, especially when you understand you don't have to plug in. If you got to plug it in, folks, it's not sustainable, in my opinion. And when you think of these hydroponics and aeroponics especially, I'm going to do more about aquaponics and my method of aquaponics in the very near future. But you got to ask yourself, all these mined minerals, these nitrates and all the other stuff, ingredients that have to go into this plastic bottle. And most of it, I'm understanding, comes from China and Russia. So it's got to be shipped all the way over to here. And you have to ask yourself, why are commercial entities pushing these soilless growing methods? And I contend it's just like our outdated Monsanto's commercial growing practices is there's money to be made in moving all this heavy weight around. And nobody necessarily gives 2 cents about the planet. It's only us urban farmer. Whenever I say we will heal this planet one urban farmer at a time, the urban farmer knows how to make soil. And they know how to grow food with that soil. And I contend in the very near future, folks, it's going to be more advantageous to grow in our inner cities than our outdated commercial growing practices. I'm at 15 minutes. That's as long as it took me to get this pile rocking. I put the thermostat in there, and I'm still tweaking. It's at 140. It's tweaking, and it's going slowly up. So I'm excited about that, of course. Again, when this pile's all complete, I'll start this pile over here. And by the time this one's complete, this pile will be ready to go into a tower. I want my compost fast, and I want it to be usable as quick as possible. So that's exciting. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's do our part, folks. Again, I've said in other videos, the most radical thing we can do as human beings to stop whatever's going on in the world is start learning how to make soil out of this organic waste and create more jobs. Urban farming jobs will be the jobs that'll be taking over now that technological unemployment is imminent and people are losing their jobs left and right due to the machine doing it better. This is a good thing. And once we mechanize our farming and we're getting food and we understanding how we're getting rid of our organics, no matter what it is, even our own outputs. I'm proud to say I haven't gone I haven't put my outputs into the water system, the drinking water system, for a long time. So that's another aspect of a valuable commodity. All right, so that's all I have to say for now. Remember, all is sacred, nothing wasted.
We will most certainly heal this planet, one urban farmer at a time.